Right, we're live.
We are live.
What's up, everybody? Happy Monday.
Hello.
Hello to the Perfect Pup community. Austin in the back is giving us a thumbs up. He thinks we're doing a good job. We'll give people a few minutes to kind of come on here and start. Don't look at this. It gets so weird because it lags. We're going to start like the computer. We have the live up so we can see the comments, and it's like 6 seconds behind. So it's kind of like watching. What's that movie where they go into their dreams and go down into different levels?
Inception.
Yeah, it's kind of like Inception on the screen, so it kind of throws us off. But Get on here. I'm gonna pin a comment here. Ask us your questions. So first of all, we just want to say, well, for those of you who have not met us yet, I'm Devin.
I'm Tyler.
And we work at Pupford. We help run the Perfect Pup community. We work very closely with, well, we are the Pupford team, but we work very closely with Zach George to make sure that we're helping you get the best resources possible for training your pup, for all things pup related. We love this community. We're super excited to be in here and to meet more of you guys, meet your dogs, hear your stories, hear your success stories, hear the questions. It's all awesome. We absolutely love it, and we're super excited to have everyone in here. So we're going to get right to it. Again, ask your questions in the comments. We will answer them as they come up. Sorry if we miss yours. Sometimes the comment threads are weird on the lives. We've got Jenna Duffy here. What's up, Jenna? Thanks for coming in.
Hi, Jenna.
We've got some other people showing up, but we're going to go ahead and get started. And I know Tyler has a question from the community that we are going to start on.
I do. So earlier today, Alana Sisnett asked, "Hi, I'm new and had just adopted an 8-week-old hound mix, Maya. My partner and I work full-time and she is too young for doggy daycare, which I didn't know at the time of adopting. I feel bad for leaving her at home because she still cries a lot and doesn't sleep through the night. Any tips to make her stay at home easier when we are not around? We play calming puppy sounds, but she still whines when we are not around." The easiest answer, honestly, in a situation like this is exercise. Make sure that prior to those times where you're actually getting out of the house, or both you and your partner are out of the house, that there has been some type of like an exercise time or training time that's been scheduled for her. A tired dog is generally going to be a lot better behaved in situations like that than one who has a lot of pent-up energy and hasn't had a chance to kind of get that out. The other thing that I would probably say in this situation is crate training and conditioning your dog to really enjoy being in the crate, making sure that you're rewarding her for enjoying the crate, and making sure that safe, that space is one that she, considers, safe and somewhere that she can kind of be when you guys are out of the house and be happy in that place.
Yeah, and on top of that, I would just, we've talked about it on these lives before, that the crate, some people think, oh, that's harsh to put them in a cage all day, but that's really not how it is. Like Tyler's saying, if you can turn it into kind of like a den for your dog, and if you're in the 30-day Perfect Pup class, which you should be, real quick, if you're not, go to pupford.com/training and sign up right now, because this community is just one part of the class. The real kind of meat and potatoes is the actual online videos. There's daily tips via email. There's a downloadable ebook. There's some printable resources like a puppy potty schedule, a list of okay and not okay vegetables and fruits. There's a ton of resources and content in the course, so go sign up if you haven't. pupford.com/training, and there's an entire section about crate training, about how to get your dog used to it, how to overcome some of the common problems. So great question, great answers. Again, sign up for the class if you're not in there yet. We're having a bunch of questions coming in here. This is a great question from Sierra. So I saw another post earlier about this as well, about kind of this general concept. So Sierra asked, what is your advice for training multiple dogs? I have 5 dogs who all need behavior training. First of all, you sound like you have quite the household.
Yeah,
I'm
props
sure,
to you.
Yeah, props to you. That is, I have 3
awesome.
dogs. You have pretty much 3 dogs. And
2 and a foster.
That seems like a lot, even just 3 dogs. So we're thinking of you. But the number one advice would be train them separately. In all reality, it is going to take probably, it's hard to put an exact time frame, but probably 3 to 9 months, maybe even a year of training them separately. That's of course going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort, but that's going to give you the best results. Because what happens when you train multiple dogs together, if they're not well behaved, is you're going to be trying to probably break them up from playing with each other. You're going to have one dog that's paying attention, another one that's not, and then you'll be diverted to the dog that's not paying attention, and the dog that is paying attention isn't going to get the right training. So train them separately. You know, even if you can only handle, for example, 5 minutes at a time with each dog, just having those separate training sessions and really being able to hone in on specific behaviors for each dog, because I'm sure one dog is better at sit than the other dog, and one dog is great on a leash and the other one's terrible. So, train them separately and, give them that one-on-one time, because that training, it's really about building that communication with your dog, right? And so if you, in reality, right, the other dog becomes a distraction, breaks that line of communication, makes it a lot harder to train. So train separately for sure. Would you agree with that?
One of the things, 3 pillars, I guess, here at Pupford is companionship, I should say. And so, when it comes to 5 dogs, all 5 of those dogs deserve that same level of companionship. And so, as tough as it is and as much time as it takes, the best way to train is individually and give each individual dog their own time with you to kind of bond with you and kind of, build that trust and build that relationship that, we all want with our dogs.
Yeah, I agree completely. On top of just the training, your dogs need that one-on-one companionship time. So true. Okay, we have another one here. Okay, lots of questions. Again, if I miss your questions, sorry, we will get to it after the live. They kind of come and go on these threads here. Hold on, something is lagging. I'm hoping we're still going. Yes? Yes, okay.
Okay, we're still here.
It just lagged on the computer. We're good. Okay, so Lori Trejo, I hope I said that right, said, "Hi, how do I get a puppy to stop biting me? She's 8 months old now." Okay, so very similar to, you're going to see a pattern here with probably a lot of the answers. And you'll see a pattern if you watch Zach's videos. You'll see a pattern if you read a lot of our blogs, and that is exercise. Tyler talked about it. Even for puppy biting, it's going to be important. You obviously don't want to over-exercise your dog, especially at that young of an age, but find something that's going to get their number one. So they need both, multiple types of exercise. They need the physical stimulation, the physical exercise of actually moving around and getting their energy out, and they need the mental stimulation. And especially with something like puppy biting, that mental stimulation might come from a chew, that might come from, a puzzle toy. If you use the search function in this group, there's a lot of resources, people giving answers about, how to do kind of like enrichment activities or puzzle games, brain games to keep your pup's brain active, keep them moving through different things. And additionally, just sounds like a cop-out answer. Promise it's not. But 8 weeks old is very, very young. Puppies don't have hands like you and I. They cannot pick things up with their paws, really. They'll paw at things, but they can't pick them up, and so they use their mouths. That's how they explore the world. That's how they kind of start to understand what is happening with them. And so part of it is just weathering the storm. Again, in the 30-Day Perfect Pup class, there is a whole section about puppy biting, but a lot of it is going to come down to, number 1, having that exercise for your dog. Number 2, staying patient. And number 3, a lot of redirection. If your dog comes up to bite you, redirect them to a little quick mini training session. Get them to do a sit and then reward them, or get them to do a lay down, or get them to do a stay, or redirect them to a chew toy or something that you're okay with them gnawing on that's not your arm, basically. So there's a lot of resources in this 30-Day Perfect Pup class that will help you, and as well as searching in the community will give you a lot of ability to find different resources, things that have worked for other people to help with that puppy biting. Anything you want to add to that?
Just along the lines of exercise, don't over-exercise your dogs, but continue to make sure that they have scheduled time each day that they are getting that stimulation that they require. At 8 weeks, it is a perfect time to start with, some of those techniques that Zach teaches about, preventing the puppy biting, redirecting, rewarding when they actually are, performing the right behavior, kind of what you're looking for, redirecting when you tell them to. And making sure that they're being rewarded for that. Start young when it comes to kind of instilling those behaviors that you're looking for when it comes to your dog or your brand new puppy in this case.
And another point that you just kind of made me think of with starting young, puppy socialization. I can never say that word. It never comes out right.
Socialization.
The socialization.
Absolutely.
Socialization of your dog is super important at a young age.
Huge.
Zach talks about it in the course as well that, obviously at the end of the day, you're probably just going to have some biting happen. It's part of having a puppy, but you want to be getting them used to having their tail pulled, not yanking it or anything, but, having hands near them, really just being exposed to new situations. And the same thing goes with dogs. So one thing that can help a lot with puppy biting, one thing that helped when we had a puppy, was having little puppy play dates with dogs that we knew, all the vaccinations were good, we knew everything was safe, and having them just play in our backyard. And because dogs have a great way of kind of teaching each other what's okay and what's not. Obviously, you need to, be there in case things do get out of hand or, something problematic happens, be monitoring the situation. But those puppy play dates, the dogs will help each other know, like, kind of what's okay, what's too aggressive, and that can in turn help lead to less biting of humans. So great question. A lot of people have that issue, so stick with it. We had a question here from Miranda Hook. I know I messed that up. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say Miranda. You know who you are. But the question was, can you point me to scientific research on grain-free food? My vet absolutely doesn't recommend it, but my mom's vet does. Miranda, if you want to send us a DM, that would probably be the best way to kind of cover this, just because it's hard for me to give you a scientific article via right now because I'm not reading one in front of me per se. But secondly, just another point there, a lot of vets are going to have different opinions on food, on a lot of different things. So, if you feel like your vet maybe just has a bias towards it, you might want to get a second opinion. But DM us at Pupford and we will get you some resources for that. Great question. I got that one. Okay, let's see. Okay, Melanie Salvatore Huber asked, my puppy barks every time a car goes by our house, and it drives me crazy. Can you suggest anything? Thanks. Great question, Melanie. This is super, super common. I actually have personal experience with this, still helping my pup overcome this. One of them is one of my dogs is very reactive. So number one thing Zach talks a lot, besides exercise, is controlling the environment. So, for example, is it that your dog can see out a window and is able to see these cars or people driving by? Because just not giving them access to those things can be helpful. Secondly, being there and being able to, again, redirect if something comes up. Lots of times you can tell when your dog is about to bark. If you know a car is coming by and they hear it and their ears kind of perk up, if you're ready there and you have a treat and you can redirect and get them into a sit and a look at me and then reward them for that, you're already kind of preemptively fixing that bad behavior before it happens. One thing, there's no need to scold, there's no need to yell at your dog or anything like that, because that's probably just going to get them more riled up. But I think preemptively being able to redirect, limiting their exposure to that, and then if it's happening in an outdoor environment, or if they're reacting when they're outside and they see or they hear a car, a lot of it is finding that threshold for where they can kind of handle and be responsive to you. So, for example, and we've talked about this a lot, but if you know that your dog reacts when a bike drives by or a car drives by and you're out on a walk, maybe find a park that you're 30 feet away. You're 30 feet away from the cars, and get your dog to do a look at me and get their focus. And if you can, great. Then move just a foot or two closer. Because eventually you're going to hit that point where they're not going to focus on you. They're going to be so distracted by what's happening, you're not going to be able to get their attention. So take a step back. Take some steps back.
Absolutely.
And kind of restart with that. So with the general barking, a lot of it is the redirection. A lot of it is being preemptive and knowing, okay, I know that my dog's going to bark in this situation. Let me be proactive and redirect before that problem behavior can even happen. And so they can understand, okay, when I hear this car going by, it's okay. I know to directly look to my pup parent, and there's going to be a better reward there than what happens in regards to barking at a car.
And one other thing, just to kind of piggyback off of what Devin's saying here, that just kind of came to mind as I was thinking about it is make sure you're structuring time for this. Don't wait for these types of situations to happen just in the moment. Make sure that if you're aware of kind of what triggers your dog and, to bite or to bark or some of these, things that we're seeing a lot of questions about in the community kind of consistently, make sure that you're in control of that situation and that you're actually structuring those times to train them on those situations. It makes the entire process a lot easier, obviously, just in general, but also too probably shortens the time that it's going to take to actually train your dog to kind of work on some of those things that you guys are seeing consistently.
I couldn't agree with that more. Zach talks about that a lot, that we don't just have the responsibility as pup parents. Our responsibility is not to just say no and try and train them to not do bad behaviors. We're trying to teach them what we want them to do. That is such a fundamental principle of positive reinforcement training, of successfully training your dog, is setting them up for success by showing them what you want them to do before the actual situation occurs. So great feedback there. Okay, we have a lot more questions coming in. This is awesome. Okay, let's see here. Okay. All right, we had... Okay, Jamie Emerson asks, when do you start training outside of only potty training? We get our 7-week-old golden retriever tomorrow.
Yeah,
that's super exciting. Congrats. You're in for an exciting time for sure. So the simple answer is now. There's no time that's too early to start training your puppy. Definitely, people think, okay, first thing I got to make sure is that my dog is not peeing in the house. For sure, totally understand that. But I would also just start thinking that, you can have these little mini quick training sessions. A puppy that young, anything under, honestly under like 4 months old, their attention span's probably pretty dang short. And so you can have just little mini bursts of training. It's like 2 to 3 minutes of training. They might lose their focus and want to go sniff around or lick the floor or who knows what. That's fine. Let them do that.
Absolutely.
Don't be, you don't need to force them into focusing on you during these training sessions when they're that young, right? Like, it's gonna take some time for them to be able to get used to the situation, get used to the things around them. So, be careful not to overwhelm them, of course, especially in those first couple days, just because they're probably gonna be a little bit nervous, a little bit scared, new environment, new people, lots of new sounds and smells. So, give them time to acclimate to the environment, but also, do as much training as you think they're comfortable with. And a lot of dogs you'll be able to kind of figure out. You'll be able to kind of see like when they're tuning out,
Yep.
when they're not really like, okay, like it's just too much for them. And that's
Absolutely.
okay. Just give them that time that feels good for them, and then let them play for a little bit, 10 minutes, and then bring them back for another 2-minute training session. Just little baby steps. Really, that's what it is with dog training, is starting small and just being consistent.
Just prepare to be patient.
7
weeks is young. They're going to be, all sorts of things that you're going to discover that you're going to want to work on.
Yeah.
Just be patient with it, be consistent with it, positive with it over anything else. Just make sure that it's, it's a concept of rewarding them for the good behaviors and making sure that you're staying patient with the bad.
Yeah, definitely. And one other thought, just as you're kind of getting your pup set up and acclimated to your house, is make sure they have a spot that's for them. Like we talked about with crate training, it can be a really great resource. People often think about it for, potty training and where they sleep at night, but some dogs, especially young pups, they just need a place to kind of like shut off their mind, I guess, for lack of a better word. And if they're going to get overwhelmed, there's going to be a lot of things happening. So making sure that they know that they have a safe spot, helping them associate that crate with positivity, with getting treats, getting toys or whatever it may be that works for your pup, but giving them a place that's their own. Great question, though. We had another question here from Gail Mayo. So Gail asked, when is my puppy not a puppy? A year? How long do I feed puppy food? Great question.
Absolutely.
So there's kind of multiple questions in here, right? When is my puppy not a puppy? Who knows, right? It's different it's different for every dog, and it's different for what your definition is of puppy. Because I've got a 1.5-year-old lab who I still believe is a puppy. She's still very curious and high energy and wanting to figure things out, and she's getting much better with her training, but she's still a puppy in my mind. In regards to the food specifically, I would talk to your vet about that, just because every breed, every situation, their weight, it all depends on that. There are many foods like the Pupford food that we sell, dehydrated Pupford food. It comes in a beef and a chicken recipe. That is formulated for all life stages. So you can feed it from puppies up to seniors. We formulate it so that they're getting the optimal ingredients. Of course, if they're a puppy, you're going to need to feed them more just because they need more calories. But I would talk to your vet for your dog's specific situation. And the same goes for any health question. We try to keep things positive on this lives and not talk too much about like rules or whatnot. But it is important to remember that this community is first and foremost a training resource. Of course, we talk about other things. We talk about general puppy life and being a pup parent and those types of things, but health related questions, always be sure to direct those to your vet. And that's just because we want what's best for you and your dog. Situations that have happened for Tyler's dog and things that he did and his vet told him to do might be totally wrong for my dog. And we would hate for someone to give you advice about health specific items that worked for them and caused problems for your dog. So direct those to your vet. Definitely the best way to go about that, I would say. Did you have another you had one other question, right?
I did.
From the community, if you want to go in on that one.
Pull this up really fast.
There's my phone. So I had a question from Asuka a couple hours ago. That was, I'm looking for some ideas or advice. My pup has no problem going potty outside when there is no one outside, like in the middle of the night or during quiet daytimes. But he will not go when there is other dogs or people, any other public places such as dog parks. Sometimes he will hold until we will get back to the house, and if there is people in front, then he will hold until he gets to the potty pad inside the house. Has anyone had any similar issues? So, the biggest thing with this is potty training is a tough thing, and it's something that does take a lot of time. Just first and foremost, that's kind of what it is. I would recommend making sure that you're consistently rewarding him for the behavior that you're looking for. So when it comes to going potty in the right place, don't be afraid to use a high-value treat. Don't be afraid to reward that over and over again in the beginning, especially with something like potty training. The most important thing is that your dog is performing the right behavior and that they're going in an appropriate place and not in the house. So make sure that you're consistent about it. Make sure that you're revisiting, number one, how often you're going out with your dog and making sure that you have a good potty training schedule that you're utilizing for your dog at the age that they're at. So Zach has an awesome schedule that you're able to utilize as a part of the 30-day Perfect Pup Training Program. Make sure that you download that. It's in a PDF on the training.
You can even print it out. Put it on your fridge.
Absolutely,
if you need to.
absolutely. But then just make sure that it's a positive experience for them when the right behavior is occurring, and make sure they're being rewarded for it.
And additionally, my dog kind of had a similar situation where she just hated, if we went on even a small road trip or something, she hated peeing in new spots. And she would wait until we were at our final destination. I don't know how she knew these things, but she did. And she just wasn't really a big fan of going to the bathroom while on walks. She only wanted to do it in the backyard. And I think in the beginning that's fine. A lot of that just comes down to them getting used to the situation, used to knowing that it is okay, and like Tyler said, just rewarding those positive moments. But great question, and I would reference the class resources on that just for general potty training, getting that schedule. It'll be
for sure.
Okay, we had a question here from Mackenzie in which I think 2 or 3 people have replied and said, same story in our house, that type of thing. So the question was, crate training is great at bedtime, not a peep. During the day, it's awful. He barks and loses it when we leave. He's barking when we get back too. Okay, so this sounds a lot more, it seems like a crate training issue, right? But it's probably a little bit more separation anxiety. And what I'll do on this, not to dive too deep, is I will link to a video from Zach that goes over, he has multiple videos about separation anxiety and trying to overcome it. But the general principle is, like Tyler said, again, we're going to beat this into the ground, exercise, exercise, exercise. I have noticed, I'm not exaggerating, night and day difference between my 2 labs when they get exercise in the morning and when they don't. Because lots of times we think, okay, I know my dog needs roughly 1 hour of exercise, and we say, okay, I'm busy rushing out the door in the morning, well, I'll get it when I get home. As long as they're still getting an hour, great. I kind of disagree with that. I think I want you to test my theory, but exercise in the morning is so much better and so important. It's so much better for your pup to just get outside in the morning and kind of get their wiggles out and be able to come back inside and not be as hyper and excited. And additionally, it's good for us as humans, right? I think, just to get outside and in the mornings and get moving.
Do it every day.
yeah. Tyler goes out on hikes with
Yep.
Here in Utah, we have a lot of awesome mountains and just really pretty areas to go out on hikes, and Tyler takes pups out every single day.
Yeah.
How far do you usually go? Like a couple miles?
We vary anywhere between about 3 to 5 miles, depending on the dogs with me. But I just, again, what he's saying is 100% true. It's a vast difference between trying to train dogs prior to getting out there and getting their exercise and when we're coming back. And so just even in my own experience with dogs of all ages, puppies, dogs up to 13 years old in some cases, it's a much more beneficial experience for both us as humans and obviously them as dogs when they get the proper exercise that they need when they get out there.
Yep. So exercise number 1 for separation anxiety. Number 2 would be starting with baby steps. Again, I'll link to this video so that you can see it. If you even want to mention Pupford or Devin Stagg, that's me, or Tyler Zane, right? Zane Phillips? Is it Zan? Yeah. That's how it shows up. Okay. Tyler Zan Phillips.
Z-A-N. Yeah.
We'll make sure you get that link. But the general concept that Zach teaches in this with separation anxiety is really starting small. So, for example, I think in one of the videos there's a lab that has really bad separation anxiety. He will have the lab in a room and he'll close the door just for a second.
Yep.
Open it up if the dog was being calm and not barking, and reward for that. And then he'll step up to 3 to 5 seconds. And then he'll slowly step up gradually. Obviously, this is going to take weeks to months even to really overcome true separation anxiety. And another note, the baby steps, right? Like incrementally increasing the time that they're gone. If it's a young puppy and you're just expecting to be happy in a crate for 4 hours right off the bat, it's probably asking a little bit too much of your dog. Honestly, that's just how it is. I think a lot of times as pup parents, we have these expectations of where we think our dog should be, and we expect too much of them. And I think it's on us to just take a little bit of a step back and, go back to, step 1 if you need to. There is no shame in that. I've read a lot of different things, heard a lot of different quotes or whatever you want to call it, that the best trainers know how to take a step back in their training and go back to the basics if they need to. Another just kind of thought on that is with the separation anxiety, if you feel that it's getting extreme, because there are some cases that it is a very serious case, your dog may have some serious separation anxiety, look for a positive reinforcement local trainer. We love this class and we really try to give everybody the best resources possible. At the same time, we understand that there are situations, there are behaviors, there are problems that require an in-person trainer, and that is awesome, and that's totally okay. And I can tell you, we've said this before, even if it costs you a few bucks to do it, might seem like a lot of money. That money and that time that you're going to put in the beginning before it gets extreme, before it gets really, really bad, is going to be worth it tenfold. Because, situations like that, they can get out of hand. And if you don't nip it in the bud early, it can just get worse and worse and worse. So if you need help finding a positive reinforcement trainer, you can message us. There's some great resources online that kind of aggregate trainers together. You can search by area, that type of thing. And here at Pupford, we also offer one-on-one virtual dog training. So we have a couple certified dog trainers that we work with. We have Vinny, and then we have Dawn, and you can get on a video conference with them and they can walk you through some of these issues. It's definitely a less expensive option than an in-person trainer, and we recognize that. We want to give people kind of that middle ground if you feel like it'll help you out. There's sessions ranging from 30 to 60 minutes. We have packages of multiple 60-minute sessions. We've had a lot of people doing it and really seen some great results. So if you need help with that, if you need help finding a trainer, if you want to learn more about the video conference, virtual dog training that we do here at Pupford, send us a message. We're more than happy to help you out with that, just because, again, some behaviors, an online resource might just not cut it. A video might just not cut it. You need the help of someone who can really kind of help you dial in the triggers or the problems that are causing these issues and finding personalized solutions. And that's totally good. So that's kind of again, there's so much you can say about separation anxiety. We'll link to that video as well, but those are kind of some general beginning points for separation anxiety. Hope that helped you out. Okay, my little one fence. Gotcha. Okay, so Shelly Church. Okay. Oh, Mackenzie replied, who had the separation anxiety question, and she said, "Thank you. He's not fully vaccinated yet, so I can't do long walks yet. He's only had one set of shots. I will test that out as soon as we can. I do play with him a lot to tire him out when we get up in the morning." Yeah, that's awesome. I totally get that. When they're that young, you have to be careful about where they're going. But yeah, keep at it. So this other question here. Sorry, I missed it. I got distracted. Shelly Church. She said, "My little one fence fights with the neighbor's dogs. We leash her and move her to the other side of the yard, but if she can hear them at all, she is crazy. We have to bring her in until we know they are not out there." Okay, I'm right here with you, Shelly. Yeah. I have dogs. So the way our house sits, we have dogs on every side of our fence. And on the one side, there are some dogs that they love to bark and they love to antagonize our dogs. And so it's been a very difficult thing to overcome. So number one, again, exercise, making sure your dog is mentally, physically stimulated and getting their exercise out. Number two would be controlling the environment. Because if your dog is just left out alone, it's kind of hard for them to know what to do. They're probably trying to be a little bit, protective of the house and alert you. They might think you don't know about the dog. So at the end of the day, the biggest thing there is going to be controlling the environment. If your dog does not quite yet understand how to deal with dogs that are near them, you need to control the environment and not give them that opportunity. And beyond that, like Tyler was saying earlier, having dedicated training sessions for when this happens. So we've done this with our dogs. Pretty much any time the other dogs will come out and bark, so it kind of works for practicing, I guess. But we'll go outside and I'll have the dog on leash and the other dogs will start barking. And again, it's kind of finding that threshold. If I need to go to the other side of the yard first, I'll get Scout is her name. I'll get her into a sit and get her into a look at me, and then move a little bit closer, move a little bit closer, move a little bit closer. And it just takes time and patience and effort of doing those kind of incremental steps of teaching your dog what you want them to do when another dog barks. Because over time, with enough repetition, with getting that kind of ingrained in their behavior, they'll hear these dogs bark and they'll want to look to you for what to do next. That's really kind of the ultimate goal, right? And so it'll take some time, but just having those dedicated sessions of teaching your dog what you want them to do when another dog barks.
Yeah, and this is actually one thing, just like Devin, that I deal with pretty consistently, especially with having dogs at the house. Just right next door, we have two dogs that are fence guarders. They will protect that fence at all costs. My dogs have, initially weren't, ones that really reacted to it, but over time, especially when those dogs are consistently doing it, had, kind of started to react to it. So one of the things that we've done on a consistent basis, number one is schedule some time to make sure that we're out there. So we can hear these dogs, in the time that they're outside of the house, and so we're aware of that, and we're able to kind of maybe even structure something that's super high value in regards to a treat. So if you're used to using, like the pup for dehydrated treats, maybe do some boiled chicken or vice versa. Switch it up a little bit and give them something new and something different that's exclusive to that particular situation. But make sure that it's structured. Make sure that it's something that you're prepared for when it comes to training them, and that it's not something that you're reacting to. Be proactive when it comes to the training. And that's something that's really, really helps. My pointer is one that barks at everything. And that's something for him that's been really beneficial, is he knows to go directly to the door because he knows he's getting a treat if he goes to the door. If he goes to the fence, he's getting nothing. It's taken a lot of time, it's taken some consistency, but it is something that works if you're willing to stick with it.
Yep, definitely. Consistency. We can't talk about that enough. That a lot of behaviors, I know we call it 30-day perfect pup. We by no means are claiming that you're going to have a perfect dog in 30 days, but the principles that we are teaching you in this 30-day class, if you are consistent with them for 6 months to a year, maybe longer, it really depends on the dog and the specific behavior, but if you stay consistent, you will see results. And consistency kind of has two folds with dog training. Number one, it's that you're doing it on a consistent basis and schedule, that every single day you're having these training opportunities. And second is that you're being consistent with how you reward. So like Tyler was saying, his dog knows now that if it goes and barks at the fence, there's going to be no reward. But every time it comes to the door, there's a reward. So you need to be ready to stay consistent with the rewards that you're giving and stay patient. It's hard. It's way easier said than done, but we believe in you. We know you guys can do this because we've done it. It's a struggle. It's difficult. Our dogs aren't perfect yet, but that consistency and just continuing to work with your dogs, it will pay off in the future.
Absolutely.
So we had a great question from Sarah Beth Allen. She said, how do you recommend stopping submissive urination? My 16-week mini Bernedoodle sometimes comes near me inside if I'm near a rug and then pees. I take her out every hour and give her treats/praise for going potty outside. She can hold her pee all night long too. So yeah, submissive urination, it's a tough one. Mike's, who is on a lot of these lives, his pup Doris has had issues with this before, and he's given some great answers. And there's some resources as well that we can give you in the 30-Day Perfect Pup class, actually, within the ebook. He talks about it on the potty training video, Zach does, but also in the ebook there's a section specifically for excitement or submissive urination, whatever you want to call it. It kind of could be both or one or the other. But the other thing is just kind of being a little bit preemptive. If you know that there's certain situations that cause your pup to have these excitement or submissive urinations, being proactive in, taking them outside to go potty right before you know someone's going to come over. That's not going to fix it completely, but it can help. And then secondly, I know one thing that Mike has done with Doris is, sometimes when you come home or you know that they're going to get overly excited, it's just kind of not, it sounds terrible and it's super sad and hard to do, but not giving them attention. So when you first come in, you're going to want to get up in there and give them a pet and tell them how much you missed them and love them, but sometimes you got to just ignore them for a couple minutes just so that they themselves can kind of calm down and relax so that they're not getting even more overly kind of excited and stimulated, and then that submissive urination happens. And additionally, because it is a, quote-unquote submissive, they're trying to show you that they don't, they're not trying to cause any problems or anything. They're trying to be as submissive as possible. 100%, and I don't believe that you're doing this, but just giving this as a point of, 100% do not punish them for the submissive urination. Do not get mad at them. Do not, just take them outside, have them go potty, praise and reward them for being, for going in the right spot. And again, just staying patient. I know for Doris, it's taken Mike multiple months of consistency, and it happens a lot less, but sometimes it still happens. And just being patient with them, and again, trying to set them up for success if you know that there's certain things that trigger it, being more calm when you come in the house or taking them out before new people come over, anything that you can do to kind of help set them up for success. And again, sorry, I'm kind of going a lot on this one, but if you know that there's certain situations that cause it, or it's when people come over or something, have them in a kind of a potty safe area that maybe it's tile or flooring that you can clean up really easily, that if it's going to happen, have them in that spot when people come over so that if it does happen, it's less problematic for you and less kind of a frustrating situation, I guess you could say. But okay, we have a lot of good questions coming in here. Okay, so we had a question here from Alex Ward. The question from Alex was, how do I stop my Aussie Shepherd from chasing kids while off-leash at the beach? This is a great question, and I'll probably be a little bit blunt here. You probably need to have your dog on the leash.
Yep.
I don't really know how else to spell it besides that, because of course, keep working on recall, keep working on the come when called training as it's outlined in the 30-Day Perfect Pup class, but in the meantime, you got to have your dog on a leash. And you might think, oh, well, we're at the beach. I want my dog to be able to run. I want them to be able to have fun. Okay, then get them a long lead. As part of our, I think we have one right here. As part of our training starter pack that we call it, we have these 30-foot long leads. And you can, the one that we offer is 30 feet. There are longer options available on Amazon or Chewy or other places. But 30 feet's a great place to start to give your dog that feeling of freedom. They can still run around, but you still are in control, for lack of a better word. You still have the ability to, your dog can't go towards those children if they're 50 feet away if they're on a 30-foot leash.
Yep.
That's just kind of the basis of it. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, no, just speaking from personal experience, it's not just for dogs that have, an issue with chasing other people or things like that. dogs that may be nervous, dogs that may be anxious about a new environment, things like that. You want to make sure that you're controlling the environment as much as possible and building their confidence. And so in some cases, this may be correction when it comes to the chasing or when it comes to things like that, but just making sure overall that you're in control of the environment and you can reward when necessary. You can make sure that they're not able to reach those kids at 50 feet away in situations where it's necessary as well. Right. But then also too, being able to stay in control and then be able to reward and be able to positively reinforce when they do acknowledge and they do kind of perform that right behavior, that right command.
And additionally, with the long lead, not only is it a way to kind of still be in control and have your dog have the sense of freedom, it's a great tool for teaching recall. Mm-hmm. So when you're doing these dedicated training sessions for having your dog come when called, like Zach shows in the course, and it's similar to having your dog stay with distance. It's easy to have your dog come when called from 5 feet away, but obviously you want to take those incremental steps forward. So, let me back up even more. Okay, if your dog struggles to come when called, number one, can your dog do it inside the house with no distractions? That is step number one, right? Any new behavior or skill that you introduce to your pup, you want to start in the kind of simplest and least distracting environment as possible, which for most people is your living room. Get to the point that your pup's come when called is 100% inside your house. And then, once that happens, then you step out to just a little bit more distracting area. Maybe it's your driveway, or maybe it's a backyard, or an area that they're very, very familiar with, but there's a little bit more distraction, and then practice it over repetition in that area. You do it from 5 feet, you do it from 10 feet, you do it from 15 feet, you do it from 20 feet, and you're kind of building up that, tolerance is the wrong word, but kind of building up that ability. It's just like, with any skill, even for us humans, like learning the piano, you didn't step right to playing songs by Mozart, right? You learned simple chords, and you learned where the notes were, and you learned simple songs, and then you increased slowly over time once you've got the more basics down. So it might be a case of just stepping back to the basics and helping your dog really understand it more internally before you're putting them in these really difficult environments. Just because, as a pup, you didn't say your dog's age necessarily, but as a pup, if they're a young pup, 3, 4, 5, 6 months old, even up to a year, those are tough situations. If you're at a beach and a little kid goes sprinting by, like, as a dog, like, whoa, what is that? I want to run after that. Yeah, that's brand new. I've never seen a kid before. Let's run after this and figure out what it is. Yeah. Like, it's very natural, and so we need to you have to kind of get your pup used to and have those behaviors down really solid and the easier, less distracting environments, and then slowly building up. And then, maybe you even do dedicated training sessions at the beach where you're doing that, kind of incremental increase of distance and distraction at the beach. So it's 5 feet away, you've got your dog on a leash, you have him come to you, you reward him. Then you go 10 feet away. And I'm sure in those times there's going to be kids running by. Like Tyler was saying earlier, it's preemptively knowing which situations cause issues for our dogs and training in those situations, like training it beforehand so they know what to do instead of just telling them what not to do in the moment. That's very, very hard for pups. So yeah, maybe just take a step back and kind of go back to the basics a little bit more. But great question. Very, very common for a lot of people. We've probably just got time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions here. And again, if we missed yours, sorry, we'll come back to it. VG Harrington said, y'all rock. Thank you. We think you rock too.
You guys are great.
Again, just want to iterate. We love having everyone in this community. It's such an awesome place to just see the growth of your dogs, seeing people better understand how to communicate with their pups. We love it. We are super happy to be a part of it. Okay, Cassie Stoddard asked, how do you desensitize a dog that's afraid of a lot of sounds, like opening Tupperware containers or hearing car doors outside and has anxiety? Great question. Another very, very common thing.
Yeah, hugely common.
And, okay, so a couple points is, number one, before you do these specific dedicated training sessions to desensitizing them, making sure they're exercised so they can focus on you a little bit better. We say it a million times because it's
true.
And $1 million importance.
Yep,
I don't know if that's how you say that, but you get what I mean. Secondly, okay, so if you know that, for example, Tupperware containers, So I'll paint this picture in my dog. It'll be a little bit easier to explain the process. So one of my dogs is extremely afraid of the oven. We don't really know what it spawned from. We think one time the oven set off the smoke alarm, and so now when the oven comes on, she associates that with, okay, this terribly loud noise is probably going to happen, and the smoke in the room, and whatever. So part of it is, again, finding that distance that they're okay with it. So have your dog on a leash. This will probably take 2 people, right? Have your dog on a leash, maybe even in another room, and be doing just some kind of little mini training session. Do a sit, do a look at me, do a lay down. Get them into that kind of like training zone, I guess you could say. And then have someone in the other room open a Tupperware container. And if your dog's on the leash, pay attention to their body language. See if they're getting really, really overly scared. And if so, move farther away from that distraction. And when that Tupperware container is open, you say, it's okay. And you have them do a look at me. And you get their attention off of that and onto you and into a positive behavior in which they're getting a reward. That is a very kind of high-level desensitization. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, I think so.
Desensitization technique for dogs is, find that threshold of whatever is causing them an issue, kind of get as close as you can, or maybe even a few more steps away to where they are going to be okay, and they are going to look at you, and they are going to be able to give you their focus, and then slowly just moving closer to them. You're wanting them to understand that, look, this thing is okay. And with something like Tupperware specifically, where it's a physical object, let them, have a Tupperware out, and if, without popping it off and having it make the noise, like let them sniff around it and get used to it. Just like with, when you're getting a dog used to nail clippers or, being in the bath, you start with those incremental small steps. You don't just grab your paws and give them the clippers right away. You take it out one day and let them smell it and just lick around it or whatever, and give them rewards. Reward them for having it, become a positive experience. And then the next day, maybe you hold their paw while they're sniffing the clippers, and you're rewarding, and it's a positive situation. And then the next day, you're maybe even just bringing it up to their paw. And if they're still okay, you're rewarding that positive behavior that you want. But taking the baby steps, and it's very, very similar for the desensitization. You're almost kind of working backwards, though, of like, okay, where is the threshold to where they are going to focus on me, they are going to be okay, without it causing them to, be freaked out or anything, and then slowly bringing it just more and more, getting them used to the situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just to kind of, piggyback again off of what he's saying, one of the biggest things that I would focus on too, kind of just on a little bit of a deeper level, is tone of voice, and making sure that as these things are happening, or as that you're training towards these things, or you're working past some of these situations that you're encountering, that you're positive. Number one, obviously your dog's language, whether, a calming voice is going to be, something better to kind of build their confidence, or whether it's getting a little more excited and kind of making sure that they know it's a good thing. And as you're kind of working through these baby steps, making sure that your body language and kind of some of the things that you're doing are all kind of playing into the message that this is something that's okay. This is something that they're okay to be around. And, making sure that your energy matches what you're looking their energy to match.
Yeah, definitely. And body language, it can go far. Dogs are really good at reading our body language. And if the second a Tupperware pops up, you get freaked out, your dog's going to get freaked out, it's probably just going to kind of create this continuous cycle and fuel the fire. So, yeah, body language is super important. Okay, one last question here. There was one that I saw. Where was it? Oh, okay. So Sadie Quinn, and this will actually lead us to kind of one of our last little laundry list items or rule reminders, that type of thing. So Sadie Quinn asked, my husband and I started a puppy class for our 11-week-old puppy, and the trainer instructed to hold her down to assert dominance, and it made me really uncomfortable. It seems very unnecessary and cruel. Is holding them down on their side until they stop struggling advisable? We aren't doing it until we hear more. I want my pup to respect and trust me, not fear me. Sadie, you have the right instinct.
Yes.
Do not do that. Period. And I don't know the trainer. I don't know the class. I don't know who it's associated with, but I would 100% recommend not going back and finding a different trainer. That's blunt, but I want you to have a good experience with your dog. I want your dog to be happy and be responsive to you and have a good relationship with you. So I would recommend leaving that trainer instantly and not returning to that class. Hopefully you didn't pay up front, or maybe you can get a refund, or if not,
you better be able to.
You better be able to, but if not, maybe cut your losses, because those techniques of the alpha rolls and holding dogs down and being dominant and causing them pain. If you DM us, or maybe I'll remember, hopefully I can remember, I have a bad memory sometimes, but we can give you some links that there are multiple studies that have proven time and time again that physical force, domination, alpha rolls, violence, they do not work with dogs. They cause more problems. They ruin your relationship with your pup, and they really do cause more problem than they do help. They can cause aggression. It can cause fear, anxiety. It's just not good. There's no reason for it. So my recommendation would be not return to that class, first of all, and continue going through this 30-day Perfect Pup class. I can tell you that the methods that Zach lines out and everything that we talk about here at Pupford, it's backed by science. It is positive reinforcement based. It is based off of studies that have shown that the positive reinforcement works and the negative and the punishment and the harshness does not work, period. Again, we can get you a couple actual references for that. And again, if you need help, if you want to find a local trainer that does positive reinforcement, there's a lot of resources online that can help with that. But again, it's just not necessary. It's just going to cause problems. It is old. It is debunked. There are some very prominent trainers whose name I will not mention, but you know who I'm talking about, who has had TV shows, and it's not Zach, who has shown a lot of force and talks about alpha and aggression, and I'm sorry, but it's garbage. I can't be more blunt than that. It's no good. There is no factual evidence behind it. It causes problems. There is factual evidence that shows that it causes aggression, it causes anxiety, it causes issues, and that's why we're such proponents of positive reinforcement. It's just going to help you have a better relationship with your dog. Is there anything you want to add on that specifically?
Yeah, and just kind of overall. So a lot of the questions that we've got have been awesome, and a couple of them. Just one thing that's kind of come to mind, for me that resonates here too is, we get a dog, and we want to build our relationship based on trust. We want to build that companionship. We want to build that positive relationship with our dogs. And I think that's a huge part to remember is trust is never going to be built on fear. Trust is never going to be built on, these negative aspects of some of the training programs that are out there. Mm-hmm. Trust is built off of positive reinforcement. Trust is built off of those great experiences that we have together, and being able to relate to that, and those dogs being able to refer to that and kind of continue to go back to those positive experiences. And the more we focus on the negative and punishment and dominance and asserting ourselves over them, those types of things are only going to establish that fear and that anxiety in our dogs, and realistically will probably result in them regressing in some of those things like separation anxiety, for instance, things of that nature where we're really they're things that we need to be making progress on in the early stages of a puppy's life.
Yeah, and just think about yourself. I'm sure probably all of us went to elementary school, and you had the teacher who was ruled by an iron fist, and you're going to get in trouble if you're not doing what's right. And as soon as that teacher leaves, you don't really care to do what they asked you to do. But and kind of the same thing with parenting. I don't have children, so I'm not going to talk too much about that. But
I love dogs.
Yeah, I have dogs. I'm a dog parent, right? But that's where the positive reinforcement, it's building that trust, it's building that bond, so that even when you're not there, the dog is wanting to do the right thing and kind of please the pup parent and keep that relationship strong. And additionally, specifically on the whole alpha theory and establishing dominance, it's been debunked. It's not true. We can send you some links to it if you want to DM us for those. And that just kind of leads us to one other point. Don't want to end on a very sad note or anything, but there are some comments in the community that a lot of people, talking about alpha or talking about some of these more aggressive techniques. And here's how we feel about it at Pupford. We set up the community so that everybody can come in and ask questions without us having to approve them first, just because we want the dialogue to start. But at the same time, there are rules in this group. We have set up rules just so that everyone here can have the most successful experience and learn as much as possible. So it is kind of everyone's duty to understand the rules and follow them, just because we want it. And one of those rules is we do not allow talk or conversation of force or punishment or alpha stuff or whatever. But at the same time, sometimes we leave them there just so that we can educate and help people understand, because at the end of the day, everyone is at a different spot in their understanding of dog training and how they work with their dog. And we love the opportunity to help people understand why it's important to not use those techniques. So that's just one thought. And another thing, just kind of housekeeping, is if you see things that you don't feel are in line with Pupford or Zach George or positive reinforcement, every single post and every single comment within the community, there's a way that you can flag it. You can report it to admins, which is us, and we can look at it and see if it, how it needs to be addressed. Sometimes it's deleting it. Sometimes it's, giving the response to help them understand, giving them the resources to help them learn. So we need your guys' help with that. It's mostly Mike and Tyler and I that are in there moderating and kind of trying to keep things in line, but there are almost 12,000 members now. It's a lot of people. A lot of stuff gets posted, which we love. So we need your guys' help. If you see things that don't seem right, report it to us. You can even tag us. You can tag Pupford. You can tag Tyler. You can tag myself, Devin. You can tag Mike. We love when you guys do that, because we need your guys' help. We do as much as we can to moderate and kind of keep the positive experience in the community, but we need your guys' help. So, and again, we just kind of want to finish by saying that, again, we love having you guys in the community. It's super awesome to just see all the new pups and learn new things and, see your success stories, see the funny videos, hear the funny stories that in the moment probably wanted to make you pull your hair out, but in 6 months you're going to look back and laugh at.
We can relate, I promise.
Yep, we can relate. We love it. But just thanks so much for being part of the community, being part of this 30-day Perfect Pup class. And again, if you have questions, if you want to ask us specifics, you can always DM us directly as admins. You can DM Pupford. We're more than happy to have conversations and just get to know you better and help you find solutions. But thanks so much for coming on, guys, and we will see you guys again on Thursday.
So
tune in on Thursday.
Perfect.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.